we can all use a good Hope Corps video. And I think for me, one of the things I definitely struggle with is protecting myself from becoming demoralized by engaging with right-wingers online. If you are in certain social media spaces, especially Facebook, which is a freaking hellscape that is just absolutely rampant with kind of late Gen X and boomer right-wingers who are just free to spew their hate, and you see them supporting the horrible things that this regime is doing, you can get this kind of false perception. You get this kind of tunnel vision of this curated community where you think like, gosh, everybody in America thinks like this. Am I the only one who cares about what's happening? Are all my neighbors awful? Is everybody awful? Are everybody fascists? Are everybody in this country delighting in the suffering that Trump is carrying out? And we know that Trump and his regime want you to believe that he's much more popular than he actually is, that he's inevitable, he's all powerful, he has the will of the people, he has a mandate from the people. I mean, like on day one, he was saying he has a mandate. He didn't even get 50% of the vote. So no, he doesn't have a mandate. He's never had a mandate. And we've seen his popular support decrease every single month that he's been in office. It continues to go down and down and down and down. But gosh, it's absolutely very possible if you are in online spaces or if you live in a very, very red, deeply pro-MAGA part of the country to feel isolated and alone and feel like there aren't a lot of people who agree with you. And this is why I think following that advice from Mr. Rogers that he gave to little kids in the wake of natural disasters, in the wake of wars going on, when terrible things are happening, you look for the helpers. That's who we want to center our focus on. That's who we want to give our energy and support to. That's who we want to look to in order to draw strength, in order to find encouragement and to feel empowered. We've got to constantly be speaking truth to ourselves because this regime is propagandizing us at all times. And we know that so much of the media and so many social media platforms are complicit in that. They are currently being pillars of support, collaborators with fascism. They are promoting Trump's propaganda that is meant to demoralize you, that is meant to make you feel like you're all alone, that everybody loves what he's doing and nobody is opposed to it. When actually the data shows that a majority of Americans disapprove of Trump, a large majority of Americans disapprove of what he's doing on immigration. And God knows everybody's really pissed off about the way he's tanking the economy. And so I just want to encourage you, orient yourself toward the helpers. Look for those stories of people who are doing good. Find the encouraging messages of people who are connecting with their compassion, their humanity, they're living out their values. They are the kind of folks that you want to draw support from, that you want to be encouraged by, that you want to connect with. Those folks were myriad. There are millions and millions and millions of us. It's just that mainstream media doesn't like to cover what we're doing. And also, let's be real, stories of helpers, stories of people being gentle and caring and compassionate doesn't grip the headlines the same way as MAGA being violent and terrible and hateful. That kind of really negative, propaganda, those kinds of negative stories really grip the headlines in a way that like some person quietly caring for their neighbor or some person who is engaging in mutual aid, like that's not going to be a gripping story in this society. But those are the stories we've got to focus on. So I want to point you to a story that came out today in the Huffington Post. It's entitled "Volunteers Flock to Support Migrants Targeted by ICE at Immigration Courts." Now, I've got a lot of videos on very practical ways we as everyday regular people can try and support immigrants who live in our cities who are being targeted by ICE. But one of the things I've talked about and really been pushing and encouraging folks to do is to think about the ways that you can escort immigrants who are going to their immigration court hearings. Because we know that it's not just undocumented immigrants who are trying to fly under the radar that are being snatched. So many of the folks who are being abducted by ICE are people who are here legally going through the legal immigration processes to get asylum status, to get their green cards, to become permanent residents. They are doing all of the right things. It is specifically because they are following the rules. They are not here illegally, y'all. They are not here illegally. They are using our legal immigration process. Because they are following the rules and showing up to their court hearings that they have to attend in order to check that box to get closer and closer and closer to getting their green card, They're getting snatched from those hearings because they're following the law and doing what they're supposed to. And ICE is showing up and abducting them and stuffing them into detention facilities where CoreCivic and Geo Group can make a shit ton of money off of keeping them imprisoned. But we know from news story after news story that when elected officials, when clergy, when Catholic bishops and priests did this in San Diego, show up and walk immigrants to their court hearings, we know that ICE backs off. They're afraid to be photographed on the news like tackling a priest to the ground. And we know also that a significant portion of ICE, they are Catholic themselves. And they don't want to be doing that. It's not good to be seen wrestling a nun to the ground and handcuffing her because she's trying to escort an immigrant to their court hearing. But we're seeing more and more folks stand up and say, I want to make sure that people who are doing everything right, and yet ICE is victimizing them because they don't care. It's never been about making sure that they catch all the criminals and gang members. It's always been about an ethnic cleansing. It's always been about attacking brown people and stripping away their rights. It's always, always, always been about that. And it's just so glaringly apparent when you see them snatching mothers away from their children. They took a mom who is the wife of a United States Navy veteran who was breastfeeding her 9-week-old child. They snatched her from her court hearing where she was working to get permanent resident status. She was working toward becoming a green card holder and then eventually a citizen. So it doesn't fucking matter to ICE if you're following the rules or not. They will try and abduct you. And so we see these volunteers saying, this is wrong. This is wrong. We cannot tolerate this. So we are seeing not only more and more clergy, more and more service members showing up in uniform to escort migrants to their court hearings. We're seeing regular everyday people who are finding places to volunteer with their local immigrants' rights groups. One of those is Northwest Immigrant Rights Project, who has had so many local residents wanting to help that they had to make a volunteer training video and has a Google Doc for people to sign up in shifts to help escort immigrants to their hearings. And if they can't prevent these folks from being detained by ICE, because we know that immigration judges are not real judges, they are members of the Department of Justice. They answer to Pam Bondi. It wasn't that long ago that they were known as special inquiry officers. They are not part of the judiciary, and so they often are working with ICE. So someone shows up to their hearing, and the judge says, nope, I'm going to cancel this. We're not going to go through with this. Leave the courtroom. By the way, ICE is waiting for you right outside the door. It's important to have volunteers in that situation as well who are willing to take down information for the immigrant that is being targeted by ICE before they exit the courtroom and are snatched up. They'll take that person's car keys and phone for safekeeping. They will help them memorize numbers. They will help get the contact information for family members, and they will find out where that immigrant is being sent. We're seeing folks who are being snatched at the courthouse, who are being disappeared into a for-profit system where there is no transparency, where their lawyer cannot access them to make sure that their rights are being upheld, to file a writ of habeas corpus, where their family members cannot visit them, so that they can very quickly deport them out of this country before anybody has a chance to stop them. So it's so important to have volunteers who are willing to give it their time, expose themselves to risk, and say, we're documenting all of this for you. We're going to make sure that we connect with your family. We're going to find out where you went. We're going to make sure that your children are safe. And we're going to make sure that you know your rights and that your rights are upheld. But we also know the presence of volunteers, especially clergy, especially service members in uniform, that deters ICE from snatching up these folks at all. And also, there are ways to help immigrants file motions to move their hearings online where they can safely attend their immigration hearing from their home over Zoom so that they don't have to expose themselves to ICE in the courtroom. And there are volunteers that can help them do that. And I wanted to, in particular, highlight one of the volunteers in this story, Don Marsh, who's from Denver, who said he's never done anything like this before, and now he volunteers to walk immigrants to and from their court hearing. And again, if they're going to be detained, he'll take their personal possessions, make sure that he connects with their family, make sure that he tries to get them legal representation. He said he's never done anything like this before. He said he wanted to do something to preserve the rule of law in this country now that unidentifiable government agents are snatching people off the streets. If we're not all safe, no one's safe, he said. We are seeing regular people, ordinary people all across the country who are finding ways to resist, who are finding ways to advocate for the folks who are being targeted by this regime. Don't let the skewed image that you're getting on social media fool you. Good people all across this country are fighting back.